The PlayStation Store is running yet another awesome sale in the Great Indoors Sale. They've got so many awesome titles on sale, and in our first video covering the sale, we're gonna take a look at 10 awesome games under $5. Yes, under $5 is a tight budget to work with, but there are actually some fantastic games available at that budget. Now, the majority of these games aren't big budget AAA experiences, however, they are high quality games, and we will be making more videos covering the sale, so stay tuned for those. Also, we do have to mention that we are using the prices if you are a PlayStation Plus subscriber. Plus subscribers receive extra discounts, so just keep that in mind. You should probably be a Plus subscriber, at least sign up for a month because you do get Bloodborne and Ratchet & Clank this month, so there you go. With that being said, let's get right into this. Alienation for $4.99. Alienation is the first of a couple of Housemarque titles that we're gonna mention on this list, and Housemarque is one of the more underrated studios in all of gaming. They haven't worked on many big budget titles, but every game they release has that arcade and fun feel to it. As far as Alienation goes, it's an isometric twin-stick shooter set in a future where aliens are invading Earth. Not the most interesting of premises, but the game is an absolute blast to play through, and visually it looks great too, and it's got some great particle effects. At $4.99, this is the perfect price for Alienation. The Unfinished Swan for $2.99. The Unfinished Swan was a story-driven game developed by Giant Sparrow, and Giant Sparrow also did another story-driven game in What Remains of Edith Finch. The Unfinished Swan was actually their first game originally. It was a PlayStation 3 title, but later ported to the PlayStation 4. Unfinished Swan is a very artistic game in where you chase after a swan that has escaped a painting while simultaneously learning the story of a lonely king. It's got a great soundtrack, and if you can appreciate more artistic games, this is going to be right up your alley, and for $2.99, it's a bargain. This War of Mine: The Little Ones for $2.99. This War of Mine is a very interesting game surrounding around a war. However, unlike most war games, the game actually has you control a group of civilian survivors in a makeshift shelter in a besieged, war-torn city. The goal of the game is to survive the war with the tools and materials that you can gather. You're not a superpowered soldier, you don't have all the tools in the world. It's a grim reminder of how war really is instead of making you feel very powerful. The game was originally released on PC and later ported over to the PlayStation 4, and the PlayStation 4 version is great, and this is a game that I highly recommend everyone to play. It's very unique, and for $2.99, that's a great pickup. Resogun for $2.99. I talked about Housemarque a little bit when I spoke on Alienation. Resogun was their first title on the PlayStation 4. This was actually a PlayStation 4 launch title, and while at the launch of the PlayStation 4, many gamers were excited for titles like Killzone Shadowfall and Knack. Most would agree that Resogun was among the best, if not the best game as a part of the PlayStation 4's launch. It acts as somewhat of a successor to Housemarque's previous shoot-'em-up series in Super Stardust, and it's a shoot-'em-up once again with some great music, great stylistic visuals, and it's just a very fun game, a bit challenging at times, but that only adds to the overall experience. And at $2.99, once again, this is a great deal for Resogun. Escape Plan for $2.99. Escape Plan is a great game that I think so many gamers missed out on, and maybe that's because it originally released on the PlayStation Vita, and it was actually a launch title for the Vita, and let's be honest, not that many people picked up a Vita. As much as I love the platform, it wasn't up everyone's alley, but Escape Plan was later ported over to the PlayStation 4, and that was great because it opened up the game to a wider audience. However, it did release all the way back in 2013, so I'm sure many of you have forgotten about it. The game itself has an awesome black and white visual style, and it's gruesome yet humorous at the same time, and makes a great transition over to the PlayStation 4, and the real strength of Escape Plan is its presentation, the great art style, the great music. It's all very well done, and at $2.99, it's a solid pickup. Psychonauts for $2.99. Psychonauts is one of the more iconic games that you're gonna come across. At this point, the game is very recognizable and it was done by Double Fine Productions, and at its release, it didn't perform all too well from a commercial standpoint. However, throughout the years, it's garnered a very reasonable cult following. The first game released all the way back in 2005, so it's had several years to build up its fan base. A PlayStation 4 version was released back in 2016, and it's exactly what you would expect. It's the same game, better visuals, but the great thing about it is that it retains everything that made this game so great. A fantastic platformer with a lot of adventure elements, a charming main character, and this is a game very much worth playing. A sequel in Psychonauts 2 has been announced, and that's scheduled for a 2019 release. Really inspiring how a game like this, that did go heavily under the radar at its initial release, still was able to find success. That's very endearing, and if you've yet to check out Psychonauts for $2.99, it's a great pickup.
Be true. This will only hurt until your brains come flying out. Get back! Help!
Welcome to my mind.
I need killers. I need angry brains.
Powerful human child.
Next, we have Darksiders War Master Edition for $3.99. Darksiders is a game that on paper sounds absolutely awesome, and let me explain why. Darksiders is a game that mechanically and presentation-wise is very easy to compare to other games such as God of War and The Legend of Zelda. Many would consider it to be a cross of those two games in specific, and that makes the game sound absolutely awesome, and I wouldn't say it's quite at that tier, but Darksiders is a very good game. It's got solid gameplay, it's got great puzzles, and it's got very good game design with a solid story. And with the PlayStation 4 version, Darksiders War Master Edition, you have everything you would expect out of a remaster. All the content from the first game, the DLC, better visuals, all that good stuff, and best of all, it comes at a really cheap price. It released at just $20, and now you can pick it up for just $3.99. That's a great price on Darksiders, and if you've yet to give it a shot, Darksiders 3 is on the way, so maybe now is a good time to familiarize yourself with Darksiders.
Silth's web-infested lair is far across the great chasm in the ashlands.
Next up, we have LittleBigPlanet 3 for $3.99. LittleBigPlanet was one of those franchises that I really thought was gonna become a staple to the PlayStation's library, because after the release of the first LittleBigPlanet, the series' potential seemed limitless with the extensive creation tools that were offered, the extremely charming and marketable character that is Sackboy. I thought LittleBigPlanet was gonna take the gaming world by storm, but it never reached that level. The subsequent game in LittleBigPlanet 2 was really good. With LittleBigPlanet 3, it did falter a little bit. As far as LBP3 goes, it was developed by Sumo Digital instead of Media Molecule, and the game itself was still pretty solid. It had that great level design, it was still a very charming game, the level creation was still there. It just never seemed to strike a chord from a commercial sense that the first game was able to do, but still a very solid game, and at $3.99, if you've never given a LittleBigPlanet game a shot, I would highly recommend LBP3. Next up, we have Oxenfree for $4.99. Oxenfree is a game that I will always go to bat for. It is a fantastic game, and the first game by a studio known as Night School Studio. This studio is actually comprised of a lot of developers that worked on the Telltale experiences, and when you play Oxenfree, you can see that shine through. Oxenfree, like the Telltale games, are very story and narrative driven, and that works to the strength of the game. The characters and dialogue are the strongest elements of Oxenfree. It centers around a group of high school students that go on a trip, supernatural beings are introduced and all hell breaks loose, but the real star of the game is the character interactions, the character development. It is just so well done and so believable, and for those of you that are a little bit older, it definitely has that sense of nostalgia attached to it. It's an excellent game, and if you like great stories, great character interactions, Oxenfree is going to be right up your alley. At $4.99, please check it out.
Something's wrong.
And finally, we have Terraria for $2.99. Terraria was one of the most iconic PC games of all time, and with the mass appeal it had on PC, of course it was going to be ported to just about every other platform imaginable. PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, PS Vita, iOS, Android, I can go on, and of course it did see a PS4 release, and that version is great too. As far as what Terraria is, it's a 2D action-adventure sandbox game where the possibilities are really endless. This is a game that's best played with some friends, but still the stylization and the design of the game is so well. It's got an old school art style, and if you played games on, say, the Super Nintendo, it's gonna hit right at home with you. And again, the possibilities of what you can do in the game are really endless, and it's set in a procedurally generated world, so it always feels somewhat fresh. At just $2.99, yeah, you probably played Terraria at this point, but having it on the PlayStation 4 is great, and if somehow you haven't played Terraria yet, man, it is a game you can invest so much time into, so definitely check it out. So that's gonna conclude this video. Let us know what you think in the comment section down below. These are some great games that are available at such cheap prices, so definitely give them a look. We'll upload a couple of more videos going over the sale because there are so many games on sale. I believe the exact number is around 350. So a lot of great stuff to go over. As always, these deals are available in North America only, which is kind of a bummer. But if you're in the region, definitely give these games a look and sound off with your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching and goodbye.